The days after that meeting were different. The air in the office felt heavier, as if every conversation stopped half a second too early when I walked into a room. My emails were suddenly being scrutinized more closely, my deadlines pushed forward without explanation, and meetings I normally led were now assigned to someone else. They didn't say it was because of my hair. They didn't need to. It's funny. Retaliation in the workplace rarely announces itself with a loud bang. It seeps in quietly, like water through a crack in the ceiling. At first, it's just a drop here and there, almost unnoticeable. Then one day you look up and the whole ceiling is caving in. One Thursday afternoon, I was working through a spreadsheet when my manager stopped by my desk. He leaned on the partition and said in a tone too casual to be casual, "Hey, just a heads up, some of the execs are doing a site walk tomorrow. Maybe consider tying your hair back just to keep things neat." I stared at him, my fingers still hovering over the keyboard. "Neat," I repeated. "You mean different from how it is right now?" He chuckled, glancing around as if we were sharing some inside joke. "You know what I mean. Just corporate neat." And then he walked away, leaving the faint smell of his cologne and a silence that felt like a challenge. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at my reflection in the mirror. My curls framed my face, soft and alive, each coil holding stories of ancestors who had worn their hair like this long before me. I thought about my grandmother, who had marched in protests in the late 60s with her afro standing tall, refusing to shrink in the face of stares and whispers. I thought about my mother, who had once been told she'd never get promoted if she looked too ethnic. And now here I was, educated, competent, experienced, being told in so many words that my very appearance was a liability. I didn't tie my hair back the next day. I wore it exactly as it was. Part defiance, part declaration. I noticed the exec's eyes lingered just a little longer when they passed my desk, their polite smiles strained. And I noticed something else, a few quiet nods from my black colleagues, the kind that said, "I see you." But the cost was growing. My performance review, which had always been glowing, suddenly contained vague phrases like, "needs to align with company culture," and "could improve client perception." My projects were reassigned, my role quietly shrinking as if they were hoping I'd get the hint and leave. And here's the thing. It wasn't just about me anymore. Once you start paying attention, you see the patterns everywhere. A younger black woman in accounting, always wearing her braids up in a bun because she'd been told once to tone it down. A man from IT who'd been pulled aside for wearing locks, told it wasn't clean enough for the company image. We'd all been given the same unspoken message. You can be here, but only if you're willing to erase parts of yourself. I decided I wasn't going to be silent. Not this time. One evening, I stayed late in the office, the glow from my computer screen the only light in the room. I began documenting everything. Every comment, every meeting, every shift in my workload since that first conversation. I pulled up the company's official dress code, and nowhere did it say natural hair was unacceptable. I started researching cases, laws, protections, and movements, including the Crown Act, which had been passed in several states to ban discrimination against natural hair. The more I read, the more I realized this wasn't just about my curls. It was about dignity. The next week, I reached out to an attorney who specialized in workplace discrimination. I told her my story. She listened without interrupting, her voice calm but firm when she said, "You have a case, and you're not the first." Something shifted inside me that day. For the first time since this all began, I felt like I wasn't just reacting, I was moving forward. Still, it wasn't easy. There were nights I lay awake, wondering if I was risking too much, if standing my ground would cost me my career. But each morning, I looked in the mirror at the hair that had caused all this uproar, and I knew the truth. My hair wasn't the problem. The problem was the narrow lens through which others viewed professionalism, a lens that had been shaped without us in mind. The storm was building, and I was ready to stand in it.